that buck just went nocturnal. And there's this kind of like throwing up my hands, like, I'm never going to see this buck again. Clearly, this buck hides in the bushes all day and then creeps out like a gremlin at night past my trail cams or not past them. Is that a thing at all? Or what did you observe in terms
Yeah.
of
So I've
this
I've
went
never,
nocturnal?
and technically GPS cars have never seen a buck that's like truly a nocturnal animal. They're always
Hmm.
making a move in the morning and a move in the evening, almost always. But I will say this year, actually literally yesterday, I was flying out and I've been recording most deer. They're all, like I'd said earlier, they're kind of out on the edges of fields and they're hanging out in that area and they're browsing on acorns right now. That's where most of them are. They're hitting the most mature, healthy oak trees that are dropping acorns. I was flying around and we had one mature buck that I haven't been able to locate yet, and I was flying over a clear cut, really nasty, thick. It's like a 6 or 7 year old clear cut, and it's just really really
Hmm.
dense, and you don't want to try to walk through it. And then I saw a hot spot in it, just a little glimmer of a hot spot because there's so much foliage over the top of him. And I flipped on the zoom camera, and it was him. And he was just sitting in there, just browsing around on. There was actually a oak tree in the clear cut. Still, it was kind of a pinley one, but it must have dropped acorns. And he's sitting in like the deepest, thickest cover on the property, and he's just browsing on acorns, and we only get pictures of him nocturnally, and it's like, is that really all you do? So I tracked him all morning long, and he stayed in that clear cut all morning long, and then he walked out over to the edge of it, and he never walked out of it, and then he bedded back down. So the idea of like having one that just lives in the bush 24/7, I guess technically they could. I still
It's
think that
legit.
deer was possibly huntable. Based off where he's at. I mean, that clear cut is something that you could get in and hunt if you wanted to. Also worth noting is even though he was in the bush in that moment and he was in such a thick, nasty area, he still traveled, I don't know, 150 or 550 total yards from the time that I followed him until he bedded back down. So he was still moving quite a bit. It was in the bush. It was in a really thick kind of area. There are some deer where, yeah, you're gonna have to go in and get pretty deep inside of it and try to get on them. But there's also some deer, and I think it's where it gets into where it's kind of like individual characteristic type thing based off their behavior. Where I've seen some, they're just in the most open field possible, where there's an oak tree dropping acorns on the front side of the property within 45 yards of the dirt road, and he's clearly mature. It's like, what are you doing? Just standing there off the dirt road, asking to get shot right now. So it just completely depended on the deer, I think.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it because that's something I picked up in listening to you that like these are not monolithic animals. Like they're individuals and they have quirks that you observed. And so to have a mature buck activity nailed down is there's patterns, but
Mm.
there's a bunch of individuals too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, really difficult to actually have one truly patterned outside of the only time frame that I think you can truly, really pattern one, I don't really like that terminology, but is right at the beginning of season. Kind of like I said, you find, especially in ag land, if you can just find where they're going to their food sources, oftentimes they'll have two or three, pin that back to where they're bedding, and you can have one patterned within reason to the fact that you know he's going to go from that small bedding area, patch of timber, to this large food source, and you just have to find a way to intersect him at that point.
I saw Johnny smirk because I know that he has been successful with that very he likes the early season. I
Yeah,
I
know he
do love
no,
the
does.
it's
early
my
Yeah.
favorite time frame as well.
Yeah, I just think you can catch them. And I should say, I've never shot like a mature buck during early season. All my mature bucks have really been during the rut when they're not thinking clearly. But I have shot several bucks, decent bucks early season. And for my kids and my son Wesley just shot his first buck last weekend, my 7-year-old. And early season for a kid, when you can kind of pattern a buck for your kids
Yeah,
it
Yeah.
makes it a whole lot easier.
yeah, that's pretty awesome.